everyone. Welcome to the Kids First Center in Scarbourgh, Maine. We are a center that serves families going through separation, divorce, step families, family transition, anything in family court aside from adoptions in the state of Maine and beyond we can help with. Our center is in Scarbourgh, Maine, and we at the Kids First Center, like everyone around our country and around our globe, are really concerned about how the coronavirus is impacting people we care about, people that we haven't met yet, and our everyday life. And so at the Kids First Center, we wanted to do something to reach out to folks that are experiencing separation, divorce, and post-divorce, and we're hopeful that we can be helpful to you and your family as you go through this process, given the current state of the pandemic. I'm Susan Wiggin. My private practice is called Child-Centered Solutions. I've been with Kids First since 1999. I facilitate most of the programs here at one time or another at the Kids First Center. And again, we focus on psychoeducational programming in group settings so that we can help parents and children going through separation, divorce, and the process of step families. So thanks for taking a few minutes and spending some time together. We need to give credit first and foremost and always to our colleagues. We have the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, the AAML, and the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, the AFCC. These are organizations that are really at the forefront of research, development, and practice in the constellation of working with families in therapeutic contexts who are going through separation, divorce, et cetera, and legal professionals, including judges. And we really look to these folks to guide our principled practice and to make sure that we're on the cutting edge of good research and practice when it comes to all of this. And these two organizations have been really instrumental in making sure that we are all up and on the cutting edge of the information that we need during this very serious and ever-changing period in American history and world history. We wanted to give you a few sort of tidbits to be thinking about as you and your child's other parent go through this process of co-parenting together through a very difficult time in your family and in our communities and in our nation's history. First, it seems obvious, but we'll highlight be healthy. This we are not taking for granted at all at this point in time, and we have to be very serious about how we take not only our health, but each other's health. We are really obligated to one another in a way that we have not had to be before. Please comply with all CDC, state, and local guidelines. Be a role model for your children. Our children, as we know, are like laser beams on us. They're watching everything we do and say. They're watching all of our micro movements. I always say our huffs, puffs, sighs, and eye rolls. They notice when our cheek muscles twitch just a certain way and what that means. They're reading us all the time. So we really do have to show by example at this time. We've got to be washing our hands very, very thoroughly, very regularly, wiping down surfaces. We're maintaining social distancing from the people we care about that we would normally see on a regular basis. Social distancing can feel very strange, very uncomfortable, both in our neighborhoods. I know when I'm walking my dogs, and usually I'd stop and chat with neighbors, and that's how we'd sort of keep up with each other. It feels really strange to just wave and say hello and sometimes move away from people I really like to chat with instead of moving closer. That becomes even more challenging when we're working within our own families. It feels very strange to move away at a time in which we want to be closest to the people that we love the most in the world. Nonetheless, social distancing is incredibly important. Be informed and share reliable information with your co-parenting partner. We are inundated right now with ever-changing news, up to the minute impressions about what's going on. It's very easy for any of us to miss quite a lot of information day to day. Please practice generosity, respect, and really come to your co-parenting partner relationship with an intention to collaborate and to work well together through this process, and err on the side of sharing information. We're going to ask you to really consult reliable agencies to get our news from. We have all our stylistic differences for where we like to get all kinds of news, whether it's serious news or sort of social news and what's going on. These are the agencies where you really want to focus on, however, to get fact-based information that we are all following to keep ourselves, our families, our communities, and our country safe and healthy. The CDC, we're in Maine, so we focus on the Maine Center of Disease Control, but you'll want to focus on your state's agency, your local hospitals, and your doctor's web page and patient portals. Be mindful. Communicate with your co-parenting partner about what your children should be told. If at all possible, both parents being a part of the discussion. Likewise, having a family discussion, even virtually, is best. Regardless of our marital status, there are going to be times as we go through the process of raising our children where it is absolutely appropriate and a powerful parenting message to come together to tell our children what we want to make sure we share with them in a spirit of love, kindness, support, consistency, and with regard to this current pandemic, seriousness. Please be honest with yourselves and your children about the seriousness of the pandemic, and also at the same time, we're all as parents walking this line of maintaining a calm, stable attitude and demeanor for our children through this entire process. Let your children know that everything will return to normal in time. One of the things I have been bristling at a bit is what I'm hearing a lot on social media about this is our new normal. From my perspective, this is not normal. This is not our new normal. This is a prolonged crisis. This is an emergency, and we are taking emergency measures to keep ourselves, our families, our neighborhoods, our cities, and beyond safe and healthy. This is not the new normal. We will come through this. We will come through this together, and our routines will come back online in time. Please be mindful about the comments that we're making. Sometimes we adults think we're talking and our children are out of earshot. Being really mindful and careful not to be careless about what we say. This is a confusing time for our children. We want to make sure that we're giving clear, respectful, safe, and consistent messaging. Don't criticize or be critical of your co-parenting partner to your children. Everyone is dealing with this in their own way. This is a stressful time for all of us, and the more we can err on the side of patience, generosity, respect, and dignity, the better for us all. Be mindful about limiting your children's access to media and social media. We all need to be informed. We all have to make the decisions for ourselves about how much is too much to have our children exposed to this. And of course, so much of that depends on their age, developmental stage, and any special needs that they may have. But having them exposed to information that is too dramatic, too negative, does not help them or us get through this in the healthiest way possible. Encourage your children to ask questions and to express their concerns. Children of every age have been impacted by this. Daycares, nursery school programs, certainly our public schools, everywhere is closed. It is clear to every child at every level that things are different. Please invite them to ask questions. Please be as honest and transparent and accurate as possible with the information that you give your children. It's really excellent if both parents in a co-parenting relationship can have these communications together. Again, Zoom meetings are my new favorite thing. I didn't even know they existed. We can FaceTime, we can do a variety of things to get on a communication system together with our child's other parent. If that's not possible, it's very important to share with your child's other parent the kinds of questions that your children are asking of you and the answers that you have given, so that as children go between their two homes and the two people they love most in the world, there's some consistency and some understanding with the kinds of worries, stresses, and concerns that your children are sharing with you. Resources, again, in Maine, we look to our Maine judicial branch. Courts.maine.gov is an excellent website. They're updating it very regularly. We have the Maine Volunteer Lawyer Project. AFCCnet.org is where you're going to find cutting edge, very reliable fact-based information at the national and international level. And of course, your children's school websites and all the communications that we're all getting from our children's schools. Here we need to highlight issues of intimate partner violence or domestic violence. Those two phrases mean the same thing. We are very concerned with people's decreased ability to stay safe in when they are surviving domestic violence, both for victims, survivors, and our children who are also bearing witness via the experience directly or witnessing abuse of one parent against another parent. These are very important resources. You need to know that they are safe, that they are reliable, that they are accessible to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Any of the hotlines you may call to ask questions, to express concern, wonderings. They are there to help you. And in Maine, we have the Maine Coalition to End Domestic Violence. In Cumberland County, we have Through These Doors is our local domestic violence agency. And in York County, we have Caring Unlimited. Every county in the United States of America has a domestic violence agency. You can Google it simply, as long as you can do that safely. You can call these hotlines, and also, if and when necessary, please know that while a lot of governmental agencies are shutting down, our police departments are not shutting down, and they are there to help you in times of need. Mostly we want to have people understand that you are not alone in this process. There is help available. And while this is impacting and changing so many of our family constellations, we want you to know that those of us that do the work around intimate partner violence, we know that this could be making things worse for you. And if you're able to safely reach out for help, help is there. And if you choose to reach out for help, you will get the help that you need. So we need to highlight issues of domestic violence. Back to our folks who are working together, being compliant is going to be very important. Guidelines for court orders and co-parenting. Court orders are still in full force and effect. Nothing is suspended, even though we are in this new strange time of co-parenting together. While a judge probably did not anticipate a pandemic when making an order, the order does exist to prevent endless haggling over shared parenting time. There's no need to reinvent the wheel right now. I think what is going to be an order, and what judges and magistrates in all of our courts across the country are really going to be looking at, if you need to go back to court once we have routines back online, I think judges and magistrates are going to look very carefully at people's behavior, using good sound judgment, being respectful, caring, kind, generous, and collaborative. I think those are really the adjectives that you want to be focused on, and the ways that you want to work on engaging with your co-parenting partner through this very difficult time. Working with your co-parenting partner to make modifications in the parenting plan, communication with one another about the risks and rewards of making any necessary modifications is going to be very important. Any parent who fails to comply with a court order has the potential for putting themselves at potential future legal risk in their parenting matter. Family court in Maine is currently suspended except for emergencies. It is incumbent upon all of us to work together with our co-parenting partners so that there's as little disruption to the parenting plan as possible. If you are transitioning your children between houses, you want to be mindful to do it in a way that limits the exposure, and social distancing is still going to be very important. Be creative. We are all being called upon to do things in new and different ways that we didn't know we had in us. Same holds true for us as we co-parent through this time that we're all in. It's actually foolish to think that nothing needs to change when malls, schools, work, everything is shut down. It's clear that we are in a state of emergency. So there may need to be some amendments out of good, safe, sound judgment. Your need to be in the physical presence of your children could put you and them and your co-parenting partners, family at risk of infection. We may need to be making some decisions about what we call including our second circle, our extended family. An example where we may need to make some decisions. If my children live with me and they are gonna go see their other parent, and my mom lives with me and she is elderly and immune compromised, I may need to make the decision to have my children go stay with their other parent until we're through this period. And if my child's other parent is able to honor that request, I may be needing to look to have time with my children on Zoom or FaceTime or different ways that we can be creative. It's nothing to do with how much I love them. It has to do with all of us needing to pull together to be use safe, sound, fact-based judgment to keep all of our family members and our communities as safe as possible. Be realistic. Despite the court-ordered parenting plan, the plan will inevitably need to temporarily change. That does not mean that your joint parenting needs to stop. In Maine, if you have shared parental rights and responsibilities, that means you are working together on a daily basis to make decisions, both big and small, for your children. Encourage closeness with the parent that may not be able to be physically present. Again, we're going to rely heavily on some computer technology to be able to do this. Create rituals that your children can count on, such as regular FaceTime, Skype calls, reading books together. I love what we're seeing with stars reading books online, and Sesame Street characters reading books to children, and on and on. This is another way that we can have time together even if we're not physically present. We could watch our favorite TV show. I know my daughter and I we love this season of American Idol. We haven't watched it in a few years, but we're loving this season. And having that time together is really fun to be able to talk about it, to get our minds off things, and to have a shared activity, whether we're in the same physical space or not. Find new ways to have virtual fun. People's creativity and how it's all coming about and sharing with other people is really something to behold, that we're all taking advantage of. Please be transparent. Transparency is also connected with honesty and fact-based honesty. Please provide honest information to your co-parenting partner if you have any suspected or confirmed exposure to the virus. Please resist the temptation, if you have it, to hold that as a secret or not be completely forthcoming with this information. It not only puts our children at risk, it puts our co-parenting partner and their family at risk, and on and on and on. We have to work all together in a very honest manner to flatten the curve of the spread of this disease. Try to agree on what steps each of you will take to protect your children from exposure. If both parents are seeing the children, but at a safe distance, prepare your children. Sometimes we may be able to say hello or spend some time, but from at least 6 feet away. When our children, particularly little ones, want to run up to mommy or run up to daddy and have lots of hugs and kisses, it's going to be important, if they're not able to do that, to tell them that before seeing the other parent, because their enthusiasm and their love and their unknowing about a situation like that could potentially take over. So we want to make sure that we're front loading and giving them as much forewarning as possible. Both parents must be aware if a child is exhibiting possible symptoms of the virus or any other illness. Both parents must be aware and participate in the course of action if a child does become ill. Likewise, it's very important if you are ill, either suspected or confirmed case of the virus, it's important that you share that information with your child's other parent. Typically, we wouldn't share all of our health information with our former spouse or partner. Right now, we are in an exception to that rule, that this would so directly impact our children and our planning for our children that we need to work together to move through that as well. It is not in your child's best interest to require them to go between homes if one parent is sick or if the child or children are sick. Please be generous. Try to arrange for some special time when all of this that we're experiencing together passes. If one parent has had to have a physical absence, it will be nice to be able to plan on some future uninterrupted time together. If your case does return to court after this, please really think now about how a judge is going to assess your actions and reactions in court. Again, I think courts are going to be really looking at if people were reasonable, kind, thoughtful, generous, and proactive. This is a time to rise to the occasion, to show our flexibility in highly unusual circumstances. This is a time to focus on meeting the needs and interests of our children and not focusing on our own position or wishes for the situation. Show your co-parenting partner respect, even if you don't agree entirely on how they're dealing with the pandemic or agree generally on parenting and other issues. All of us working together in a respectful way is really going to help our collective get through this, and certainly is going to set a tone for teaching your children how to navigate challenges. Flexibility in how you deal with your co-parenting partner is absolutely essential, as is respectful interactions. And using this experience, I promise we're not crazy when we say this from the Kids First Center. There is a real window of opportunity here to look at this as an opportunity to grow in your relationship with your co-parent and your co-parenting relationship together. This is a time for maturity, for respect, for kindness, generosity, thoughtfulness. The list goes on and on. That those are really the traits that we're going to want to bring out in ourselves and create situations to bring out in each other. Please be understanding. Many co-parents have already lost their ability to pay. Many people have already lost their job. We are entering into a time of unprecedented financial insecurity in our nation and in our globe. People may not be able to keep up with their child support. People likewise may not be able to keep up with their rent or their mortgage. Understand that the pandemic will pose economic hardship on all of us, both for the ability to pay child support and those who receive child support. The money just will have so many needs, it won't go as far as it typically would. Try to maintain stability and support as much as possible. Much like paying your rent or your mortgage, if you can pay some of your child support, it's much better than paying nothing. And keeping good, accurate records of this and the reasons behind the changes that you might need to make are going to be critically important for the future. We should all work together to make accommodations to this temporary situation. The pandemic and the adversity that come with it is an opportunity for parents to come together and focus on what's best for our children. For children, the pandemic may very well leave vivid memories. We are now having a collective experience that is prolonged. We will all be talking about this period in time throughout our lived experience in history. How we co-parent together during this time will also leave them with memories of how their parents handled adversity and stress under difficult circumstances? Did my parents show me how to be resilient and kind and dignified under the most difficult circumstances? Or did my parents make it worse? Or did one of my parents make it better and one of my parents made it worse? These will leave indelible marks in our children's memory of how we handled and navigated this situation. While dealing with the pandemic is challenging, it's an opportunity absolutely to put our children first. We want to let you know about the virtual programming that we now have available at the Kids First Center in Scarbourgh, Maine. We've been working hard to get everything online, just like we see so many other businesses and services coming on board. We have a program that's called The First Step. This is our 4-hour co-parenting educational program. It is a lecture workshop that is chock full of information that is very usable. One of the things I love most about it is it gives you tools through that program that you can start using right away. It's very accessible. It's very worth your time. The Kids First program for women who have experienced domestic abuse. Again, you are not alone through this process. Our services are here to support you and your children to safe navigation of this very difficult circumstance. Please know that there are other women experiencing similar situations, and we come together in a program to help you through this process. The next step, putting conflict aside, that is a 4-week support group, which after you've taken the first step, that 4-hour class, the next step is a small group. It goes for 4 weeks. We do it on Zoom, and it's been really tremendous working together and really continuing the programming as we go through the process. We have Kids First program for parents with new partners. That's for the biological parent and the step parent. And that's, again, a 4-hour class as you're moving through the experience of coming together in a new partnership, how to go through that in a way that it's a very complicated and often wonderful set of family dynamics. And we want to be as helpful to all of you as we can to support you, your biological family, and your new family members to get through this with health and wellness and positive outcomes long term. Thanks so much for spending a little time with us. We are a small nonprofit in Scarbourgh, Maine. We serve throughout the state and beyond, and any contribution that you'd like to share with us would be very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and thanks always for supporting the Kids First Center.